Hello neighbor, this is Curt at eTrailer, and today we're going to be taking a look at these Pewag tire chains for a 2024 Jeep Wagoneer L. Now we have these tire chains on a 275 55R20 tire on this Wagoneer. These chains are made out of a manganese nickel alloy steel, so that's going to add a lot of durability and corrosion resistance, extending the life of these chains for you. They are in a ladder pattern. Now, ladder pattern on tire chains is really going to show its performance in starting, stopping, and basically getting that road traction needed to get on the go in those deep snow, mud, and icy conditions. This is a square link style chain, which is going to give an edge to it, just going to give a little bit of extra bite into your icy conditions, as well as having these grooves across it, which is going to actually help it perform a lot better than your standard square links and much, much better than rounded chains. Now we have these mounted on the rear axle of this Jeep Wagoneer according to the owner's manual. Always consult your owner's manual to see whether the front or back axle is where they'd like you to put these tire chains. Make sure in your owner's manual that they recommend tire chains at all. In the case of the Jeep Wagoneer, they recommend the rear axle, so here we have them. And they come in a pair, and they come in a bag like this. Now, it is a good sturdy bag, and you can store it in these. However, I usually recommend getting some kind of a plastic tote. It'll help them from getting tangled up and kinked up, and also help them dry out a little bit better in between use. Now, if you've had these tire chains before, if you're familiar with them, please comment below and let us know what your experience was. We'd love to share that with other neighbors, and it helps us help them pick the right chains for their vehicle. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how we got these on. Now, the first thing we want to do before installing them is laying out and inspecting them. This is a very important step. You may notice that I've got gloves on for this. Now, in a real-world scenario, in all likelihood, when you apply these, you are going to be wearing gloves because of the cold and snowy conditions. However, even in a situation like this, I always recommend gloves while handling tire chains. There are some sharp edges to these that do help it bite into the snow and ice, and you wouldn't want to cut your hands up while you're putting these on. So what I'm really looking for is laying the entire chain out flat. I'm looking for any kinks in the chain, any kind of damage that may have occurred unnoticed the last time we used them. And I'm laying out in a particular way in order to drape them over the tire. And by that, what I mean is, I'm looking at these hooks. I'm going to make sure that these are facing away from the sidewalls of your tire. These edges here are a bit sharp, and the last thing we want to do is puncture the sidewall of your tire as we're going down the road. So make sure these are facing away from the tire. The other thing we want to make sure of is that this lever here for our adjustment later is also going to be on the outside of the tire. This isn't going to be something you want to mess with from underneath the vehicle. So now we're going to go ahead and get these on. I'm going to start by picking them up as evenly as I can and draping them over the tire. Now as I'm doing this, I'm making adjustments to making sure it's kind of as symmetric as possible. I want it to be as even on the other side as it is on this side, just to ensure that we're getting a good fit. And I'm also making sure that we're not in a situation where any of this chain is really in danger of touching the wheel itself. So we've got them on here in a good even way as far as we could tell from out here. Now let's go ahead and get under the car behind the wheel and take a look at how we make our attachments there. So what we're going to find in the back is one end with an open hook and another end with 4 or 5 loose links. Now you can hook this to any of these links for adjustment. We're going to go ahead and start by using the end hook, because even with that we still get pretty similar symmetry of the chain as we saw on the front. So now that we've got that secure, let's go back out to the front of the tire and we'll make our adjustments from there. So what we're going to do now is come around to the front and make our attachment here. We're going to go ahead and put this lever through the nearest link in this case, because that's a pretty snug fit already. We're going to bring that around, hold that down like that, and then use this loose link over here to clip it through. Now, this actually ends up, even on the loosest link in the back and the loosest link in the front, on this 275 55R20 tire, we get a pretty good snug fit just out of that. However, we do want to make sure that it is extra secure, that we're not going to have any issues on the road. So there's one more piece that we're going to want to add to this just to help us get safely down the road. Now this is not a part that is included with the chains, but it is something that we at eTrailer always recommend. It's a rubber tensioner, and we're going to go ahead and install this on here so you can see what the benefits would be. Now we're going to keep in mind, same as when we put the chains on, to keep the open end of these hooks away from the sidewalls to avoid puncturing anything. We're going to go ahead and loop it right through one of those chains there, and then we're going to take the opposite end and do the same across from it down here. And we will do that accordingly across the entire tire. Now, there's very little chance of these chains coming loose on you, and you should have a good, safe ride down the road. Now, these chains are an excellent choice for this tire. They do fit very snugly, but they do fit. And snug is a good thing when we're talking about tire chains. The square links are going to be great for those icy or snowy, muddy conditions, so it's a great all-around tire chain for that. And I do again recommend adding the rubber tensioner just to give you that extra security while going down the road. And once again, this is Curt at eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.